Kenny Cunningham, good morning.
Morning, Johnny. You well?
Not too bad. I'm all the better for having not seen the game, but just hearing how good Aaron Connolly was at the weekend. And how lucky is Mick McCarthy that his kind of hand has almost been forced in the sense of bringing him into the squad due to injuries? Because are you with me? I thought it was absolutely outlandish he wasn't in the squad in the first place.
Yeah, well, we had this conversation not too long ago in terms of the values of bringing young Aaron in, and although it was great to see him involved around the Brighton squad playing as well as he had done, I hadn't a huge issue with maybe Mick leaving him out, Johnny, not kind of rushing his development in terms of bringing him into the fold. But that said, though, I've no issue whatsoever in terms of the injuries. Mick has pulled him in off the back of his performance the weekend. People would say it's a pretty obvious decision to make. So I'm delighted for the young fella. He looks as if he's playing with a lot of confidence at the moment. You'll be hugely confident after his performance and his goals at the weekend. So hopefully he can carry that into the squad, that bit of bounce into the squad when the players meet up. So it's great for him, and hopefully indirectly it'll be great for Ireland going forward in the immediate short-term future. I mean,
yeah, just in relation to what Shane was saying there as well, I think we need to just grasp how much of a thrill this might be for Ireland, because he could have 5 goals, as Shane alludes there. He could have 5 goals already. The kid is only starting out. He's still unfurnished. And I remember Shane talking about when he used to be Galway United manager, how during the summer Aaron Connolly was always in the gym in Galway working out, brilliant attitude. Have you any kind of experience of what he's like kind of off the pitch? Because there's always this talk with Aaron Connolly that he has a bit of attitude about him. Eamon Dunphy, writing in the Star today, said that's a good thing. He has this kind of self-confidence. But what do you know of the personality of the man?
John, I worked with him for a small bit of time with under 19s. It's always difficult. Lads can make big strides, John, I think, in very short periods of time, particularly 16, 17, kind of 18, 19. I'm talking about in terms of kind of emotional development here, in terms of personality. But yeah, right, he always struck me as a lad quietly confident. He generally played kind of, although predominantly kind of right-footed, he could use both feet. Predominantly played off the left of a 3, and quite effective kind of cutting inside. So I was actually interested in seeing him play the weekend. He played just off the front, really. He played as a central striker, really, with Neil Maupay high up the pitch, and done really well, actually. And that kind of physicality you're speaking about, physical strength, there was no problem to him. Generally speaking, John, kind of young players that age coming into the team, even if they're a main central striker, sometimes they get pushed out onto the flanks, maybe to protect them a little bit, come a little bit more physical down the centre of the pitch up against centre half, so they tend to be protected a little bit more, maybe thrown onto the flanks. But wasn't the case of the weekend. He was thrown up there, and he was very quick. I saw a lot of him playing this summer. I don't know if you did, Johnny, with the under 21s, the Toulon tournament. He impressed there. He's very direct, good little dribbler, and yeah, when he plants his feet, physically strong, can't be pushed off the ball too quick. In terms of personality, yeah, that's a good thing, and that will develop. And the more confidence he gets, John, the more has been around the Brighton team, he gets a bit of a taste for it, particularly off the back of the weekend. That kind of self-confidence will obviously increase and improve, which is only a good thing, as long as it's tempered, John, and it's channeled in the right way. That's always a good thing. So yeah, it was probably the biggest, from an Irish perspective, probably the biggest story of the weekend. I was delighted for the young fella.
A fit again, Kenny Cunningham is thrown into a game against an Ireland team lining out next weekend. Which of these attacking players do you want to be marking least?
In terms of air attacking players, John, available?
Yeah. And I include Connolly in that, obviously.
Yeah, I know. I think it's an easy one to say, John, off the back of his performance the weekend. He's got 2 goals. He's the form striker. He's confident. But I think it's an easy thing to say, I'll put him straight into the team. I think, like we spoke about before, John, not quite as easy as that. A very kind of pressurised environment that he'll be coming into with Ireland next week. 2 huge games. The Georgia game first up. We know how important that is. The actual we can't afford to drop points in this when things are so close. So Aaron will feel that a little bit when he joins up to the squad, and certainly when the game comes around, they fly to Georgia and the build up to the game. So Mick will have the decision to make whether he wants to put that kind of added pressure on young Aaron's shoulders by giving him a start in the game. But I'd have no problem whatsoever. That's a decision, John, for Mick to make when the lad meets up and and he sits down with him, he observes him in training around the hotel, how he interacts with the players, how he carries himself, how even he performs in training. And Mick might just make a decision off the basis of a couple of days training that it might be a good reaction, this lad's ready. You know, it might be a case of, look, I really genuinely wasn't thinking of throwing this lad in, but, you know, I'm going to put him in. From what I've seen, I've got a good reaction. Yeah, he's going to start. So that may well be the case. Again, how many have we lost, John? How many of those of our forwards are definitely out?
Yeah, well, McGoldrick looks like he actually might not necessarily definitely be out, and then after that, it's probably slightly up in the air. But I'm interested. You think he actually might start him? Because I don't think there's much chance of him starting, particularly if McGoldrick is there. Obviously, Sean Maguire's in a bit of form at club level, but it just hasn't so much happened for him at Ireland. And then you do have other options.
Got Hogan, Scott Hogan.
Lots of players scoring at the weekend as well. And Robinson, yeah.
To be honest with you, John, he played very at the weekend. He played as a 2 high up the pitch. It looks as if Mick will probably play 4-3-3 as he always has done. That midfield 3, Connor, Jeff and Glenn Whelan, potentially James McCarthy for midfield 3. So that leaves you with one central striker. Now, to throw young Aaron as a lone number 9 central striking option, I think that'd be highly unlikely. If you were to make an argument for him starting, you'd probably say off the flanks, probably left of a 3, or that position on the right, John, right of a 3, which has been for the last couple of games an area where we've always felt somebody come in and grab that position. Callum Robinson has played there, the likes of Dowda, Alan Judge potentially. I think that's one area potentially where you could probably make a stronger argument for him actually getting into the team, because I think Mick is pretty fixed on James down the left hand side. So if you're going to make a strong argument for maybe Aaron coming into the team to start against Georgia in Mick's kind of preferred 4-3-3 formation, it probably would be right of a 3 high up the pitch. And because he's kind of quite nimble, can play off either foot, I think that's a reasonable argument to make. But my gut feel at the moment, I could be wrong, and in some ways hopefully I am, because I'd love to see him get a start. Mick would probably lean towards the likes of Callum Robinson, Dowda, Ronan Coors, that type of player, Alan Judge to play off the right hand side and just keep Aaron on the bench if you needed to use him as an impact substitute, certainly in the Georgia game.
Ronan Coors is obviously he did cry off the squad on Saturday, which kind of preceded Connolly's coming into the squad, which made it quite convenient for Mick rather, because it was questionable in the first place. But just briefly, Kenny, what would your starting 11 be against Georgia?
Oh, it's probably a conversation for another day, John, because I maybe might seriously consider think with that midfield 3 and maybe look to utilise an orthodox midfield 2 and a number 9 and a 10, actually 2 central strikers for me. I think we've had small issues in previous games in terms of midfield 3 just getting to grips with the movement of opposition midfielders and that kind of central midfield area. So personally, I'd seriously consider maybe sacrificing one of those midfield 3 players and introducing a second striker. But that, like I said, that's a pretty long conversation.
Yeah.
Probably give me reasons another time. But I certainly think Mick will go with the 3. I've no problem with the 3 as it is there in central midfield. James McLean off the left, absolutely. I'd still look maybe for that right hand side. I think Gabe McGoldrick will play down the middle, John. And for me, I'd still look at Callum Robinson. I'm a big fan of Callum Robinson and maybe getting him into the team. And in 4-3-3, the only way you can get him in is on that right hand side. But I think if the likes of Callum O'Dowd, like his pace, John, he's absolutely explosive. And we're going to be penned in for sections of that period of that game, maybe in around half. And the ability of somebody to pick up the ball and travel at speed quickly high up the pitch can be quite invaluable. So maybe someone like him, Mick, might look to potentially for the right hand side of the 3. But if you're talking back in the defensive line, John, I'm guessing you look no further than John Egan, Kevin Long. Just the fact you had minutes under their belt. I don't think Shane Duffy's going to make it in time, personally. And Matt Doherty in the left back position, hopefully he'd be fit and ready to play. I think he's deserved this opportunity. So I'm really looking forward to. Mick's got a number of decisions to make there, John, which probably wouldn't have been the case some time ago. The team was pretty much picking itself. But I'm really looking forward to it. It's a huge game, and I'd have every confidence, really, regardless of what team, Mick Puck's on the pitch. But those new faces coming in, Aaron in particular, that gives everybody a lift, John. Kind of young talent like that bursting through, coming into the squad. It's a great thing to see from every point of view, and hopefully he'll get a taste of it, albeit potentially maybe even just off the bench over in Georgia.
This might sound a bit strange, but I don't actually think Liverpool have been playing that well over the last month, and somehow after the weekend they're 8 points clear, beat Leicester 2-1, a game that you watched the weekend.
Oh no, it was an amazing game. But you're right, John. Yeah, Liverpool not at their best. Probably said that a couple of times this season. Probably said it previously away to kind of Sheffield United. A little bit laboured as well during the course of this game, particularly first half. I was a bit disappointed in Leicester, John, to be honest with you, in terms of their setup, how Rodgers set the team up. Their most influential, most creative player, Maddison, he shunted him out onto the left-hand side again. Which kind of disappointed me because they function a lot better, a lot more rhythm to the play, a lot more penetration when he plays in his favourite central area. So I thought Rodgers let Liverpool off the hook there a little bit.
That's interesting. You think he wasn't brave enough, Kenny?
He's been Liverpool's best forward this year. But give credit to Leicester. They hung around in the game, got themselves a great goal. Fabinho, for me, just caught out a little bit, daydreaming, allowed Perez in behind him to slide a little pass to Maddison. But give Liverpool a bit of credit. They pushed again. John, you wouldn't say the goal was coming. It wasn't a case that they were peppering the Leicester goal, creating chance after chance. And I wouldn't say a mistake. I'd say a moment of indecision from Al Brighton, compounded by Schmeichel coming off his line, created the opportunity. I didn't think it was a penalty. I didn't even think it was close, to be honest with you. There was minimum contact. He didn't even go down immediately, man. He kind of took a second to just size up the situation and then went down. The kind of referee bought it a little bit. But Liverpool took advantage and they continued to roll on.
Did James Maddison, been picked in that position? You said they left Liverpool a little bit off the hook. Was that a lack of bravery from Rodgers going back to Anfield, where he picked a side maybe more to deal with Liverpool rather than his best side?
No, I don't think he did. I just couldn't understand. He'd done the same away to Manchester United a few weeks ago. He brought Chowdhury in alongside Ndidi and Tielemans in that midfield three and shunted them out to the left again. And again was the same situation. They kind of spluttered through the game. So I was convinced. He came back into the team in that kind of number 8 role alongside Tielemans against Spurs, and he was brilliant, got the winning goal. Missed the game through injury against Newcastle. So I thought, again, had to come back in that central midfield there. He didn't. He played Dennis Prayet in there alongside Tielemans with Ndidi behind him and shunted Maddison out to left. I really couldn't understand it. This kid is so good, John, in terms of his ability to receive the ball on the half turn. Always looks to play forward. Very creative with his kind of pass, and he can score as well. A very good finisher. And it was only when he went in centrally, put him in behind the front two for the last kind of 15 minutes, that he got the goal. And just when I was actually thinking Leicester were going to go on and win the game, John, kind of the last kind of 5 minutes or so, and he actually pulled them off a couple of minutes after he scored the goal, which had me scratching my head as well. So yeah, I was actually a bit frustrated because I'm a big fan of this Leicester team, but in terms of the team he's put on the pitch, in terms of the balance, for me, he's got it wrong, particularly in those big games away to Manchester United and Liverpool. Cause I wouldn't say Liverpool were there for the taking, they never are, they're that strong. But I felt there was a real window of opportunity there for Leicester to go and actually win at Anfield at the weekend. And I thought he got a start in the line-up wrong, and it cost his team.
Just finally, the game in St James's Park, how grim are things for Man U at the minute?
Yeah. It'd be grim enough now. I watched the game, I was interested. I mean, yeah, they struggled just creating goal-scoring opportunities, John, really. I mean, the ball retention was decent enough, but too many sideways passes for me, not cutting enough with the passing. But that's not surprising, John. I mean, the big issue, is always that kind of central midfield area in terms of where is the weakness, where do they need to strengthen. I mean, it's always been there for me, and it has been for quite some time. And Pogba in particular, not in the team. There's really nothing there. I like McTominay, great energy, very athletic, wholehearted, kind of box-to-box player. You throw Fred in there as well, and Pereira, and it really is a little bit powder puff in that area of the pitch. So I have a little bit of sympathy at times in terms of the forward players from Manchester United, in terms of the runs they're making, who's actually going to find them with that killer pass. I think there's a lack of confidence up there anyway with the likes of Rashford. Don't get me wrong, Mata came on, got his opportunity the weekend, kind of struggled a bit. So creatively they're really struggling, John, to create chances and goals. Defensively it's kind of not too bad, although the goal was poor. They conceded on the kind of counter-attack, was a little bit sloppy. So, yeah, no, it is pretty grim. You're right, because any team that's struggling to create chances, invariably you're going to struggle to score goals, and United have done. And then obviously, you know what I mean, a little bit of sloppiness to the end of the pitch is costing them. And kind of body language, Jones, those couple of shots into the dugout, Solskjaer, you know what I mean, a little bit similar to the end of last season, kind of rabbit in the headlights a little bit, kind of trying to say the right things on the touchline, etc., in front of the TV cameras. But you sense the pressure is growing. I don't think the pressure is growing in terms of going to lose his job. I don't know how you feel. I still think he's pretty safe till the end of the year. Even if the Manchester United board decides, you know what, he's out. We've got to go and find another manager. He's not the answer, kind of medium to long term. For me, to keep him in position till the end of the season, because in a funny kind of way, John, if you're looking for somebody just maybe to hold the dressing room together a little bit and keep things ticking over until that next manager comes in, that the one you want, the one you cover, whether it's a Pochettino or somebody else, Solskjaer is probably the best man to have there in the front as a temporary manager. Although he's got his contract at the moment, he's probably the one you want ticking it over as he did last season until that next man comes in. So I'd still be very surprised if they were to show him the door between now and say Christmas. For me, it'd be kind of, it'd be custard pies all around the Manchester United boardroom if that was the case. Almost humiliation having given him that contract. For me, he kind of stays till the end of the season, even if he stumbles till the end of the season. But at this moment, I would be surprised, even at the moment, the Manchester United board weren't putting a few soundings, a few sounders out to people, agents, whoever it is, middlemen, fixers, in terms of who potentially is going to be available come the end of the season, in terms of if we need to make this change going forward. And that'll be the interest. That'll be most of the noise, I'd imagine, going forward if Manchester United's form doesn't improve dramatically over the next couple of months.
Thanks a million for your time, Kenny.
Cheers, John. Have a good one, lad.